We are live. Captain Marvel film thoughts in 3D. Starting with this video contains spoilers. It's a long video, but there are time codes for the different sections in the description box. And I might spoil the MCU up to this point. There's a pretty good chance I'll spoil Infinity War, since the movie does it for me, and yeah. So, starting with 3D. The 3D is a very... It's the Avatar style 3D. It adds depth and atmosphere. It doesn't try to throw stuff directly at the viewer. Yeah, I would definitely go for the 3D. And moving on. Notes taken while watching. Now, not counting the end credits, the movie is just about 2 hours. I should also say I continue to have some back issues, so if I sit awkwardly, it's because I'm trying to find a comfortable way. I really like that the Marvel logo is made up of Stan Lee cameos instead of Marvel characters, or MCU characters, and even has the, in memory of, yeah. It's a great tribute, and I think that Stan would have really appreciated the tribute. Now, I like that literally the first thing we see is this sort of memory dream kind of thing. She wakes from it, and immediately she's dealing with, she can't quite remember who she is, and we see that she has her powers already. So it doesn't spend a really long time getting to the point where she has the powers. It really is déjà vu. It really is this thing of, like, not the Matrix thing with where a cat keeps reappearing and meowing in the same way. No, I mean, feels like I've, not only is this déjà vu, but it feels like it's happened before. The déjà vu all over again. I really gotta stop the references. Yeah, I appreciate that. That's, it's a very big part of her character in this movie, that she's trying to figure out who she is, and that she's having trouble dealing with that. So setting that up immediately is clever. There's some movies where it would have started on a mission, perhaps even on the mission to Torfa, I want to say the planet was called. But yeah, this is a very good way to start it. And let's see, I like, we immediately see that she's very much a smart aleck, and they do some martial arts, and she and Jude Law are both really, really badass. And Jude Law has a line, they're on the, is it a train? I forget. And like, she asks him something, and he answers, and then he says, "But you know that," or something like that. And it's like, yeah, it's almost like it's exposition for an unseen audience. And we meet the Supreme Being. I think she did an amazing act. I've probably seen her in something. Annette Bening, I want to say is her name. Probably seen her in something, but I could not place. But for a while, it's just like this mysterious, really wise figure. But then there's, that part where Carol, like, I forget if it's a kick or a jump, she, like, attacks her, and she's like, please, this, and just, yeah. And we meet the team, and they're in a huge spaceship. Just to briefly, oh, and by the way, if I accidentally say Skrull, I know that they're Skrulls. It just, yeah. Occasionally I might misspeak, and but I haven't read a lot of comics that had Skrulls, but I have read some. Anyway, yes. So the right, the team. Near the, close to the end, Carol fights the entire team. And I felt like the movie expected me to remember more about them than I really did. It's not really a bad thing, but I guess, I mean, it's one of the only things where the movie was trying to do something and I didn't feel like it quite succeeded. It seemed like we were supposed to know, like there's this thing where, I don't remember if it's the sniper, but like, I'm just gonna go with Versi. Wait. Versi? I want to say that they pronounce it Versi. Anyway, yeah, there's like, she's like, you knew all this time. Wait, is that why we never hung out? No, I just didn't like you. And I'm like, were we supposed to notice that they didn't have like a relationship together? Because I totally didn't. Like, there was this guy with a blue face and like a long beard. That was kind of a distinct look. So I remember, and Korath the Pursuer is one of them. I'm sorry, I didn't feel like he needed to be in this movie. I can't think of anything. Ronan's little bit was slightly cool, but I really didn't feel like Korath. I'm sorry, I like Jaimin Hansu. I just don't feel like he needs to be. It's not personal. It's not him. It's me. It's the character. This character does not need to be in these two movies. He doesn't need to be in Guardians of the Galaxy 1. He doesn't need to be in this movie. He does nothing that other characters couldn't do, come on. Guardians of the Galaxy 1, why not simply have the couple of actual things he accomplishes be done by Ronan himself? Anyway, I've talked about that before. I didn't really feel like the team needed to be there. I think that it would have been a more compelling fight if it was if it was a fight between Jude Law and, I'm sorry, Yon-Rogg? I want to say it's Yon-Rogg. Yon-Rogg and Verse. I'm sorry, I'm just going to call it Carol Danvers. I really do feel like that would have been, I liked the fight, but it felt like I was supposed to appreciate that she used to have a relationship with these guys, and I really did, I couldn't pick them out of a lineup except for Bluebeard, and, Korath, and Korath I already knew. Anyway. So yeah, they're going on the rescue mission to rescue a spy on a Skrull-invaded border planet. Yeah, and pretty early, I noted Vers is probably from Carol Danvers. I didn't realize that it was specifically from the what's it called? Were they dog tags? I want to say they're dog tags. Let's see. Do you ever wonder if someone comes from like a culture that don't really have a lot of dogs, and they're like, oh, dog tags, like military, and then they actually meet a dog and they're like, you're nothing like a military unit at all. That was a terrible joke. What I was trying to get at was that I like how the Skrulls, they're posing as the Torfa natives, and then you even have that one guy who goes directly up to the sniper, and because of the radio, that is, several times the radio, that's how Coulson outs his Skrull as well, completely unintentionally, just saying that, And unlike the first Fear game, the sniper character is, in fact, there is a scenario in which she is useful. I'm sorry, I will never forget that bit of trivia, that they were working on that game and they didn't realize immediately that there was not going to be a place wherein the sniper would be useful. That is wild to me. Anyway, But yeah, the one Skrull wanted to try to stop the sniper, but the sniper shot the Skrull, did not shoot the deputy, and yeah, you realize that the natives were actually Skrulls in disguise, and there's a battle scene. And, excuse me. There we go. Oh, right, sorry. Carol is knocked out by the main villain. You know, when I first read that he was going to use his Australian dialect when he plays Talos in his normal Skrull form, I actually thought that, I guess going off the stereotype that all Australians are like criminals and such, but then later on you find that the Skrulls are actually, they don't want the war, so that gets me to wonder what exactly, like, one second, I need to be careful how I do this. There we go. Yeah, that's right, I didn't get around to watching. There's like a review by Joe Blow, I want to say, of the movie that I'm not going to be able to watch before then. Anyway, yeah, so yeah, let me just real quick go through these. Anyway, yeah. Oh, wow. Huh. Yeah, there's something about the Stan Lee cameo, but yeah, this is just IMDb trivia. You can, let's see, yeah, let's see, there we go. You can look that up yourself. So I don't have anything to comment on. I just thought it was neat. Right. Yeah, I mean, does that mean that they're like, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that. And we see the Skrull probe Carol's memories, and we have some flashbacks. And see, this is a good, like, pretty much the first impression the audience gets of the Skrulls is that they're these sneaky, kind of devious, that they hide and then they probe her memories, so they, that seems very sinister. And then later we find out, they're just looking for a new home planet because they were driven off there. It was blown up. And yeah, then you stop and think back, oh wait, we haven't actually seen them do like truly horrific stuff in this, and everything they've done. I mean, near the end of the movie you realize Talon wanted to get reunited with his kid, his wife and his kid. Yeah, what they do, some of it's really, nasty, but they really don't do anything that's so bad that you can't, like, what's it called? Yeah, where you can't understand that that's why. Oh, and for those, terrified of the alternative, yes, Carol Danvers at times is sweet, and she smiles. You can come back off the edge now. And I like that she can actually, like, she has some, like, when the memories are being looked at by the Skrulls, she can actually stop. She says, "Can you hear that voice too?" With the And I saw critics say that she does a Robert Downey Jr. impression in the movie, and that she's better when she isn't doing it. I can see what he means. It's this kind of thing that she's a wise ass because she's in this, she's kind of a tomboy. She's in this very male-dominated field, so she has to be careful about how much she's like, yeah. She has to prove that she's one of the guys. And, Carol has the ability of energy projection, and so we have this fight where she is unable to use it. I quite like that. The whole thing with just, because, they're not stupid. They know what she can do, so they just, they put her hands in these things, so she manages to get free, but she can't get those things off her hands just like that. So she's running around and pounding people with I think there was also at least one critic who said that in some ways it felt like a Phase 1 movie. I can kind of see what Let me just real briefly. Okay. When I record this, the movie has, I believe, 5.6 out of 10 on IMDb, and that, let me just real quick. I'm not going to claim that there's absolutely nothing that, let's see, that the movie is just perfect and there's nothing you could possibly criticize about it. But looking at 26.3% gave it a 10, and 32.5% gave it a 1. I'm sorry, if you think this movie is a 1, you are biased. There is no way that you could possibly think that this movie. Let me do a quick check. Let's see. I'm not entirely sure how to. Let's see. So, yeah, I don't really. Anyway, I think it's pretty ridiculous, the whole thing about, she said that she didn't think there needed to be more middle-aged white guys in, like, press doing interviews or just something like that, and like tons of white guys freaked out and said, oh, she's against us. No, she's just in favor of other groups as well. Just, yeah. And the movie is somewhat feminist, but it's not like beating you over the head with it. It's not saying that being male is bad or inferior. Let's see, but yeah, thankfully the critics are not affected by that, and then there are people whining about, oh, the Rotten Tomatoes removed the want to see rating because the movie was review bombed. It's ridiculous. That just, yeah. Anyway, the shape shifting were really great effects, and I love the design. We've seen a lot of shape shifting in movies, so you need to bring something interesting to the table. And excuse me, in my opinion, this movie definitely did that. It looked somewhat painful, like, and we're also, Talon says, anyone can do it, but if you want to do it well, it takes practice and, what did he say, skill or something like that. And he was also like, I loved impersonating the beautiful blue eyes. Did Ben Mendelsohn write that line himself? Because he does play both characters. Is that maybe like, did he get annoyed with, like, what's it called? The eye, yeah, what are they called? Contacts to make his eye. I didn't really know. Were they green or something when he was regular Squirrel? And he was like, do I really have to put these in? And then later they made him say the line, oh, humans have such pretty... Or maybe it's because he plays that, he plays both of those roles. So maybe anyway. Oh, right, sorry, real quick, yeah. My own film critic rating, let's see, my personal rating. I mean, I would say both are 8 out of 10. But yeah, the shape-shifting, it looked like it was somewhat painful, which adds character to. That means that every time they choose to, it's like, when the Wolverine, not very long after he's introduced in the first movie, it's like, how do you, does it hurt when they come out every time? So whenever they shapeshift and whenever he uses his claws, it hurts, but it's, it's who they are. I don't know if it was one of the team members who said that, have you ever been to, what was it, C53C, whatever, Earth? And she was like, I've been there once. It's a real shithole. Is that like, I mean, that's what Trump called African countries. So is it like, I don't know. Is that space Trump, or are they saying that to aliens it would seem, I don't know. Anyway, it's probably has nothing to do with it. I really love, she crashes in like Blockbuster Video, and she goes up to this cop, and she's like, "What is the universal translator not working?" Appreciate that little, Star Trek reference possibly, but the explaining how they go to all these worlds, and yeah, she's like, where do I, where do I fix communication? Something like that, communications, and he like points. And it's like, it's Radio Shack, which is also, so, I don't think Radio Shack exists anymore either. And, like, at first, I got, like, a Thor vibe. Like, she's going to go in there, and, I know it's nighttime, so she's not going to talk to a guy there, but, she's going to go in there, say, I need a horse. We got cats, dogs, then one of the big enough to ride. Which I think is something from the comics. He rides a really big horse really big dog or cat. Anyway, but no, she goes in there, she gets some stuff, and she turns a payphone into a space phone. She is able to communicate with Jude Law, who is not even, what is he even? Yeah, they say he's, what was it, 22 hours away from the nearest jump gate to Earth, and they're like, because she was on the Skrull ship for a while. Yeah, I really appreciate how smart they make this character. This is a movie wherein ambitious young women solve problems. And there's some uncanny valley going on with the de-aging. I'm sorry, especially Coulson. I really don't, it worked better on Fury, but yeah. I like the thing with, like, yeah, this is, let's see, yeah, this line is from earlier, but the thing with, she was wearing, like, a laser tag, it does kind of look like, excuse me, and Nick Fury uses a little 90s slang. I don't remember the exact, yeah, and we have the Stan Lee cameo, which I really love, and he's in there, yeah. Anyway, What's that mean? Maybe I'll realize before. Anyway, I am really glad that this did not drown in 90s references, because that would have been really obnoxious. I felt like they hit the right balance. It wasn't so much that it was just unbearable. And I say that as a child of the 90s, you know. But I mean, honestly, I'm not sure I like the... I like stuff from the late 90s and the early 2000s, but early to mid 90s weren't really something I was that into. But anyway, yeah, I felt like they did a good job. I was genuinely concerned from just reading that, oh, they have references to that. Anyway, okay, I'm just gonna... martial arts inside of steps. I have no... it's possible that I started to write something and then anyway, I forgot that I was writing. And anyway, I like the thing with, yeah, again, you know, Coulson is revealed to be a Skrull because the other Coulson, the real Coulson, calls, and he's like, so you guys kind of left me behind here, where is everybody? And just, yeah. And yeah, I really appreciate that they actually, because that's a thing the Skrull will do, they will impersonate government people so that they'll get access, you know. And yeah, you actually have that a little bit in this, you know. Also, his boss is impersonated by Talon. And also, around this point in watching the movie, I realized, wait, actually, hold on a minute. Does that mean, What I had noted was that apparently Earth is a Kree Empire border planet, since they were right by Torfa, which is one, and apparently, but then Torfa and Earth are not necessarily right next to each other. It's just where she happened to crash land when the ship was going. Yeah, actually, I guess that's it. It's not necessarily... I just thought that was an interesting, like, I mean, the Kree might have looked at Earth and be like, I mean, we don't really need to fight these people. They're not going anywhere. They're not a threat to us. We can just leave them, you know. They didn't seem to particularly be dealing that much with the Torfa people, you know, Torfans. If you kill a Torfa who has a child, I guess that makes the child a Torfa orphan. And I like how Fury covers the body of the Skrull with a coat, and then he's like, you know, nothing to see here, nothing to see here. I'm a SHIELD agent. And so, you know, it reminded me a lot of the, you know, Men in Black, where it's like, you know, a person is smart, but people are panicky animals, and you know it. And yeah, I, you know, appreciate the jokes about, you know, slow old internet, and we've got the dial-up sound and internet problems, and yeah. And I like the thing with, you know, no, the eye is fine. You know, at first, you know, we spend the whole movie sitting there waiting for, you know, is the eye going to be, yeah. And, you know, some people had guessed, yes, Goose rips it out with the, you know, and of course, Nick doesn't tell anybody that. Anyway, you know, there is something that might have made, you know, insecure white men really hate this movie, and that's the fact that it's not as if the biker represents every young white male, but I can imagine that his behavior towards her probably felt like very familiar to a bunch of people, and they didn't like that the movie was clearly not on his side, and the fact that she goes and steals his ride, and it's just, you know, look, She needs the mannequin's clothes and boots and the guy's motorcycle. It's just that simple. She doesn't have to say please. And I like the... Yeah, but I mean, the guy's literally sitting there saying, "Oh, you should smile more," and yeah. But yeah, you know, and the Skrull has impersonated the guy in a suit. I honestly thought that the let's see, excuse me, the dead Skrull, the, you know, alien autopsy. I thought that guy was going to turn out to still be alive, and like the moment that, you know, the door closed. I've watched The Thing. I'm not going to say too many times because there's no such thing. But yeah, that might have been where I got the idea that, you know, oh, there's still some cellular activity. It's not completely dead. Let's see. Just don't drop your keys near it. But then it turns out that, you know, the boss there, you know, is a Skrull. So, but yeah, you know, we later find out, we're told that he just left him tied up somewhere. He could have killed him. That would have made it easier to hide. But he didn't want to have it. And then at the same time, he also says, it's war. I have blood on my hands too. I like the thing where, like, she's trying to figure out if Fury is a Skrull. So, like, she's sitting there asking him questions, and just, yeah, you know, and it kept going a little too long, and he was like, "You didn't really need to know that, did you?" Nope, but it sure was fun to hear. I like those moments. Also later when, you know, he starts singing the Marvelettes, I want to say it's, you know, and he keeps singing. He's like, "You don't know it? No, but please keep singing. I'm sure I'll get it eventually." And they play Chasing Waterfalls. And, you know, they also play I'm Only Happy When It Rains by Garbage. And, you know, Fury and Carol together, you know, you could have like a fun buddy comedy just entirely centered on the two of them. Yeah. You know, Samuel L. Jackson is great in this movie. I really liked, you know, when he plays Fury, he doesn't generally get to smile and sing and be this kind of cheery, but, you know, we've seen him be it in other roles. But Carol and Goose bring that out in him. I like that Carol is not stupid. She clearly does know a lot, even though she doesn't know who she is in her past, and she doesn't recognize that Earth, she doesn't think of it as her home, which is also, I mean, there at the end, the fact that she leaves and she only comes back when Fury sends, you know, with the, what's it called, pager, you know. Yeah, that genuinely is like, if she thought of Earth as her home, I imagine she would have returned sooner. So, is it just me, or did she look like, at first I wasn't sure if they were gonna, yeah, I thought that she was gonna turn out to have been trapped in the quantum realm and thus not have aged. You know, that was one of the theories on why we hadn't seen her. But I guess she was de-aged for a lot of the movie, and then, or aged up there at the end. I don't know. Maybe I just didn't get a good enough look at her at the end. Anyway, I mean, I guess maybe it took her all these years to find the Skrulls a new home that was safe from the Kree. I don't know. I mean, the Kree War ended in 2014 in the MCU, so why didn't she return to Earth? You know, it's been about 5 years since that happened, so she must not think of Earth. It couldn't just have been that she wanted the fight to end. And there's a line, I forget exactly, but someone says 6 years ago in 1989, Was that the first time that the movie specifically said it was set in 1995? I don't know. I don't feel like it was said earlier than that. But I guess then, technically, the moment you see her crash into a Blockbuster video, you know that it's set in the 90s. Let's see. I like the bit, excellent work, Nicholas. And then immediately Fury suspects it's a Skrull, but he proves, he tests him also. But the let's see. Yeah, we've just had the thing that nobody calls me Nick or Nicholas. I'm called Fury. What do you call your mother? Fury. What does she call you? Fury. What if you had a kid? Fury. Just. But he tests him by saying, so just like Havana, and the other guy, just like Havana, because he assumes, Talon doesn't think of it as a test. He assumes that this is just one of those things. They say this. Yeah, they have this shared history. It's not a test. It's just just have to confirm. Having just recently rewatched The Terminator, I really like that one of the options. The guy says, "You got a dead cat in there or what?" One of the answers was "or what." I like that. That's just a factual statement. It's a vague statement, but it's a factual statement. But yeah, we know immediately he was never in Havana. He was, he only went to the bees. But yeah, it also reminded me of something like the T-1000. You have these, yeah, and we have the movement activated lights. And Talon figures out, and he goes, "Was it something I said?" And just yeah, great. And Coulson lets them go, realizing he trusts them. And I like that Carol Danvers sticks out her hand, and Fury's like, "What?" He's like, "You're a communicator. You clearly can't be trusted with it." Is I mean, that really she's right. He just screwed things up for them with the communicator, so and she's being very authoritative, potato, and the let's see. Yeah, it's like if he refuses to give it to her, she can take it from him. So she gives him the chance to, And I like, Goose was a stowaway on the. I really like at first it just shows up here, and then they walk a little, and then it's there again, just immediately, and yeah, they take off, and it like gets pushed up against the thing, and it's like not too. I'm not a cat person, but I did like Goose in this. Was the we see Ronan very briefly, and he talks about do you need me to blow something up? Is there some way that I could get to like use really strong force against? Because I'd really appreciate and Jude Law's like no, and it just. Was that animated? Because his face looked wrong, but then it does again later, and I don't know. And Fury did not want Maria to know about the aliens. I quite like that. I don't know, aliens with green skin. They can they can change their appearance. And he's like, yeah, I mean, that is crazy. It's certainly, if it was real, it was something that we might want to keep a secret, and you have that. I quite like the scene where Maria, she talks about it was hard to lose Carol, and now you have this thing of like, she's back and she remembers nothing. They do end up going back to this kind of casual, they're smart Alex, both of them. So, but I like that the movie acknowledges it's not just, you can't fall directly back into it. Maria has to process it. It's not that she doesn't believe what Carol is saying, it's a lot to cope with. And that's, there are a lot of movies where something like that isn't talked about. And this is like, they're pilots, and they were dealing with kind of experimental stuff, and that happens. Military people lose their lives, and it's difficult to deal with for the people left behind. And I appreciate that the movie acknowledges this without at all coming off. The movie doesn't say that it's not worth it. Specifically, it says you do have to. If not for people like Maria and, let's see. At first, you think that would have meant that the Skrulls would have gotten their hands on the stuff, but more likely, she was worried about, the doctor was worried that the Kree would get it and abuse the power, and it seems very realistic. It makes sense as a concern. I like when the neighbor comes over and, Maria is like, oh, hey, it's my neighbor. And, Carol is like, oh, Talon, you're really trying hard. And it's, one of those scenes where it's really not. And then Talon shows up and is like, you really should treat your neighbor better. You never know when you need, a cup of sugar or something. It's And you have the clever little bit about how there's a Maria Skrull out with her kid. I am afraid I don't remember her name, which is, I really love the kid. She's, great actor. When she started on that monologue about how Maria should definitely go with, so they're not just stuck watching Fresh Prince of Bel-Air at home, I thought that was a really great speech. And I was like, oh, this kid is not gonna, so few kid actors could actually pull this off, but the kid did it. I was really impressed. And yeah, she's right, come on. Are you really going to pass this up? That's, and again, yes, Maria, as a young, ambitious woman, needs to be talked into it, but she's talked into it by another ambitious young woman, so, yeah. Let's see. And I like so I forget, there's something about, Talon said something about, young lady something, things where they don't belong. And Maria's like, call me young lady again and I'll put my foot in a place where it doesn't belong. And like, Talon's like, am I supposed to know what spot that is, what place that is? And, immediately both Carol and Fury are not, it's your butt, it's your ass. And, Talon's immediately scared of Goose the cat, and he says, that's a flurkin, and I do quite like how, and then Samuel Jackson, I just rewatched Hateful Eight, so it's, it's deja vu to have Samuel Jackson holding something into someone else's face to keep safe, And we have a space dogfight, which is awesome. We have like 2 or 3 of those. It's really great. And Jude Law, let's see. Yeah, we realize, it's flashbang. We realize Jude Law was the one who shot down Dr. Lawson, and and he's like, he's about to shoot Carol, and then she's like, wait, the core that you don't want blown up, is that one? And she shoots it, and that was really cool. And yeah, she was willing to die to keep the core out of the hands of the enemy. She trusts Dr. Lawson that this man is, in fact, our enemy. Yeah, here I noted about how we don't really know the team members. I feel like it's probably that they were a team in the comics. I feel like it would have been fine if it was being, let's say that it was like the sniper and Carol and and Jude Law, and then in that first Skrull scene, the Skrull actually does succeed in killing the sniper, and then it's just Jude Law and Carol, and so the fight between Carol and all the team members is just Carol versus Jude Law, and he again is able to really, she has trouble controlling her emotions, so he might be able to kick her ass. That kind of thing I thought would be much more compelling than, anyway. And yeah, the Skrull are on the right side of the Kree War. The Skrulls just wanted a new home. And yeah, this is when I noted that Skrulls really don't use violence more than absolutely necessary in the film. The old lady on the train could have killed a bunch of people on that train, like maybe as a distraction or something. But instead, just she hopes that Carol doesn't know that. And that was also like when you saw that in the trailer, you kind of assumed, oh, she's got like a special kind of vision, like she can tell when she's faced with a Skrull. But really, it was complete luck that she saw, And really fortunate for her that it's not like twins and one of them got off at a stop earlier than the other one. Twins dress alike in a lot of movies, possibly real life. I don't know that they would do it at that age, but. And they talk about the energy signal, and then there's, Talon's like, you couldn't figure that out. You're supposed to be my science guy, which is like, okay, is he Bush now? Because that's like, my budget guy or budget man or something. I don't know. Maybe he's just Bill Nye. And yeah, Maria's daughter talks her into it, and I liked also them finding the new uniform, and all the fans are sitting there waiting for them to pick the apparent the blue and red uniform. And let's see. And J-Law, realizes that the Bill Nye the Science Guy is a Skrull because it's his blood pumping through Carol's veins. And he immediately denies using the code to because they can figure that out. And he might have realized at that point that Carol would have just given him that code. And Jude Law calls Ronan to Earth. The core turns out to be the Tesseract, and Carol can just hold it in her hand, and that's where her power comes from. That's really cool. And we see the family, the Skrulls hitting space. I also did think that was kind of funny, like the numbers are, what was it? There's this place that's in rotation, and you can track the orbit using the numbers, something like that. I really like Jude Law immediately goes, oh, it's working. Let's see. And Jude Law took her powers. And let's see. What does that say? How to convince ? Die ? And I noted that Annette Bening, performance varied. I also liked how they put that into like that is the other. She was called Captain Marvel as well, right? And her name was Mar-Vell, I think. And Fury is like this. That's a cat, not Hannibal Lecter. And and we have the big thematic and kind of girl power moment. I'm not dismissing girl power. I'm saying people are overreacting to there being girl power in the movie. Again, I really didn't feel it. I'm a dude, and I didn't feel like the movie was saying, you white dude, get out of the movie theater. It's a movie that empowers women, but it doesn't do so by putting men down, so yeah. But yeah, we have then, everybody tries to discourage her, but she keeps getting back up. I think they did a really great job in both the movie and the trailers of using those clips of her, being knocked down, and later we see her get back up over and over. She's a real inspiration, and she goes, "My name is Carol," and Carol's breaking free, spreading bacon free, and just the go to the plant store in the weekends because that's when they get new plants, and we get to see Carol at her full power. And I love, Goose swallows the test. He's like, you want me to pick it up with my bare hands? She's like, you need an oven mitt, and Goose just opens up and that was so good. And then at the end, it coughs it up like it's a hairball. That was really great. I do have to admit, I thought that we were going to be told in this movie how, once we saw the Tesseract in the movie, I don't know, for some reason I thought that maybe we would be told now why it was on Earth instead of on Asgard. Having just rewatched Captain America 1, it's like, it's the crown jewel of Odin's treasure vault, and, it's in this Norwegian town in 1943, and then they find it at the end of that movie, and then I guess... Yeah, so basically, she managed, the Dr. Lawson manages to get it into that space station and hide it, figuring that the Kree would get it and would be able to, and then it ends up back in the hands of S.H.I.E.L.D. at the end of this movie, and so they've had it since 1995. And been trying to figure out how to tap into the power. Goose is great. I like the fight set. I'm Just a Girl by Gwen Stefani. Solo or group, I forget. No Doubt, I think. I have no doubt that they made that song. And yeah, she fights her team members, and let's see. And then Goose doesn't eat this, group of, that look like Kree, and, Fury's like, come on, Goose, pick a side. And then, Talon walks in and says, just like Havana. So now it's been flipped. It used to be that Fury used it against Talon to make sure that he was, he's not going to actually disobey his boss if he's not 100% certain that it's not his boss. And I forget, did he outright tell Talon that was the tell, or did Talon realize? I'm not entirely sure, but then it gets turned into Talon revealing to Fury that he's not who he appears to be, which is, as I thought that was a really great turn. And they talk about how it's like a quad jet. Is that why they call it a Quinjet in the regular Avengers ones? I don't know. Maybe I'm reading into it, but I feel like those are because quad is 4, and then Quinn something about 5. Maybe it's a reference to Zachary Quinto. I don't know. I forget if I noted it, but Maria's daughter at one point, there's actually, I think I know. Anyway, yeah, it's like, how maybe I could meet you halfway between Earth and wherever you are. And Fury's like, I'm gonna have to learn how to fly. And then the girl says, or maybe I'll design a spaceship, which makes me wonder if maybe they will have spaceships in Endgame, because as far as I recall, the MCU has not had human-built, human-designed spaceships. The Captain at full power destroying all these spaceships, and I appreciate that they put part of that in the trailer. So this is the thing, for people who haven't read the comics but are watching this, that's what Captain Marvel can do when she is at full force. And if she had been doing that since the start of the movie, it would have been a short movie. So yeah, it's a great, it's like how with Thor, they have to put him in situations where his powers are not enough for, yeah. And see, Ronan, to me, it looks just a little bit, he just looks off. I guess it's the de-aging thing, although, I mean, dude doesn't look that old today anyway. But, it's not just the fact that in that he's got the tattoo across the face, which I guess is him rebelling against the Kree. I don't know. And Jude Law is trying to get Carol to fight him without using her powers, and she's like, I have nothing to prove to you. And, Fury didn't lose his eye, and because of the fork, and I like that because, yeah, cats will claw at things, and did it, was that only in the trailer, or did it, like, kind of, it is not claw, but paw at his hand when he looked and saw, oh, his name is Goose. I'm not entirely sure, but it's the one time that it actually uses its claw in the entire movie, and it's bad enough that it costs him his eye, and then he, looks over replacement eyes and decides on an eye patch. Although in Captain America 2, he does have another eye, and it in fact has, but I guess that all that means is that he had another eye under the, yeah, and it was his, just in case he ever needed another, because it's like it's a scan for the eye. Yeah. Presumably you've watched that movie. Otherwise what I said makes little sense. But yeah, here we have the thing with, Maria's kid might build a spaceship, and Fury sings. I wanted to say, one of the times there was like a hallway, and Goose was at one end, and and the Kree were on another. Goose does the tentacle thing and smacks them against the walls and the roof. It really reminded me of Groot in how he does that, and then he turns around, big smile on his face. And let's see. I don't think that this movie added, offered further, or maybe I just didn't pick it up or forgot already or something, even though I started recording, not very long after the movie, after the end credits were done rolling in the post-credit scene. Anyway, more, I don't feel like I know Korath or Ronan more now than I did before, but anyway. Let's see. Yeah, Carol is helping the Skrulls find a new home until the end of Avengers. Possibly that's why she doesn't return. So after the end of Avengers 3, the post-credit scene. I mean, obviously, and Fury was going to call it the Protector Initiative, but he looks at the photo and sees that she was called the Avenger. That was her nickname for the jet. So he calls it the Avenger Initiative. And I don't know, maybe the wording of it isn't important, but I feel like I really wish they would have stayed on it just a little bit long, just in case there was some really cool, I mean, was it like the text of, let's see, what does he say in Avengers, and then they reuse it in the Avengers 3 trailer, which was beautifully done. There was an idea to put together a group of remarkable people. Or is that what it says? This is an idea to put together a group of remarkable people or something. But yeah, the thing with, she... Doesn't that make her the first Avenger? Which makes the, first Captain America movie was called the first Avenger. Yeah, anyway. But no, technically she's not the first Avenger because it's before the Avenger Initiative. But didn't they try to recruit Tony Stark before... No, wait, because that scene was probably... The scene where, Fury says, "You've been asleep for quite some time, Captain." That took place before the first Iron Man movie. It very easily could have. Anyway. And, he says, Coulson says, "Is it really true that the Kree burnt your eye away because you wouldn't give the Tesseract back to them?" And he says, "I will neither confirm nor deny that." Yes. Right. And gets the Avengers name from Carol Danvers. The mid-credits scene, I'm glad they put it as the mid, so to really give us that before the post-credit, straight up a preview of Avengers 4, the same way that, I want to say, Ant-Man had a preview for Civil War, just straight up part of a scene, we're told they made sure that the pager would keep going, like a power boost and like a signal boost and stuff, and they were like, so why did it stop? Could we start it up again? No, it stopped. This was not like it ran out of power or something. And then Carol is there and she's like, "Where's Fury?" She's not like, freaking Fury calling me for no reason. She's like, "Get me Fury. He's gonna tell me what's going on here." Let's see. But it stopped because it's a pager, so it stopped when she pressed the thing on her end, and that's what she did, and then she went there. And we have the post-credit scene of Goose coughing up the Tesseract like it's a hairball. That was great. Now that takes us to the next section. Notes. Oh, excuse me. I'm getting ahead of myself here. Notes taken before watching. Now, finally we have a female-led MCU movie, and partially female-directed, but she's one of the two directors, the other being male. And apparently we're finally getting a Black Widow solo movie. I just hope they can get past the hurdle of women being too hard to animate. The DCU did beat them to putting out a female-led superhero movie. So one big question is this movie better than the Wonder Woman solo movie? Now, I love Wonder Woman, the solo movie. Yeah, I love Wonder Woman everything. Feature film, DCU, Wonder Woman everything. But yeah, the solo film I especially love, easily the best of the DCU. But I'm not going to pretend that movie doesn't have a couple of issues that I go into in my videos on it. As a critic, I'd have to rate it a 7 out of 10, but, to me personally, it's a 10 out of 10. And let's see, I could imagine this would get by with almost no issues. In general, the MCU is obviously far superior to the DCU. I don't know that it's as strong of a girl power, pro-women inspiration for women movie as Wonder Woman, where Wonder Woman everything is driven by that Whereas this movie, there are a bunch of things that aren't really directly about... you could say that, the scenes that where Wonder Woman isn't in them, especially the scenes of the bad guys, it goes to the thematic. Is Wonder Woman, is her idealism misplaced? Is she, too sure of the goodness and innocence of man? Is there evil and ugliness to man? Where this, I mean, there are a bunch of things that really don't have anything to do with the feminist issue, and isn't really about other minorities either. So I would say that's a stronger inspirational film for young women. But overall, I would say this is a better movie. But yeah, I mean, when I want to really, you know, enjoy something empowering women, I put on Wonder Woman. So now I quite like the higher, further, faster. You know, makes a good personal motto for young women. You know, we're not just gonna do what men do; we'll do it better than them. But that does bring up the issue of, you know, that means men set the standard, and women are only allowed to be great by conforming to that standard, rather than just, you know, women can be great. They don't have to be like men to, you know. Where Wonder Woman was about how feminine values and traits could solve problems caused by masculine ones. And again, that means that it is the better, but I don't know. I mean, at the same time, I know feminists who do prefer the idea that, you know, women, yeah, who do approve of women outdoing men at things that men are, yeah. Now, I was wondering if we would have to figure out who is and isn't Skrull. Could be interesting, and there's some mystery stuff in the MCU already. I think they did really great. Again, it reminded me of like the T-1000. Like the movie isn't. It's not that you're sitting there and spending forever trying to piece together. You know, it's not like, what's it called? It's not like The Thing. You know, where genuinely like everything is riding on who is and who isn't human. But I do think that it's, yeah, you know, there are just enough times of it, and I really like the reveals on who is and isn't. Excuse me. I was wondering if there would be too much time spent either on Earth or away from it. I think it strikes a perfect balance. I really like, again, you know, the first Thor movie did not really do that well at this, and yeah, I think this one does. Just, let's see, I mean, we don't end up spending a lot of time. Was it called Hana or Hala? I forget, but the Kree homeworld. I want to say it was the homeworld. Anyway, you know, we don't end up spending a lot of time there, but we don't really need to spend more time there than we do. And I felt like Torfan was significant, you know, enough in the movie. And I mean, it's an Earth-based movie, and I didn't feel like the space stuff, you know, felt tacked on for that. And I thought it made perfect sense to have so much of the movie set on Earth, because that is where this whole thing with Dr. Lawson happened. I like the thing with, you know, do you know what a welcome wagon is? This ain't it. And the thing with, you know, you watched me do the thing with the tape while you could have just blasted open the door. Well, I didn't want to steal your thunder or something. Yeah, it was a good line. Now, let's see. I like that she got her, well, I guess she didn't quite get her powers from a Kree, but she did get training from Kree. You know, Guardians of the Galaxy 1 introducing the species, and when this, you know, out, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and Infinity War came out, expanding the Guardians universe and introducing the Guardians to the rest of the MCU. And the Avengers had, the first movie had the Chitauri, which are somewhat similar to the Skrulls, and the Skrulls themselves will be in this movie. And this time they will actually use their shape-shifting abilities, which I think it was the Last Angry Geek in comic book issues criticized that they didn't do that in Avengers 1. That makes sense. Now, I was wondering if this was going to hint at Rogue, now that Marvel Studios have the rights to X-Men, or if maybe someone else was going to take Captain Marvel's powers. It's a pretty major part of her character. You know, maybe this movie ends with it, but I guess not, since then she wouldn't have her powers for Avengers 4. Maybe the second movie will have it. It is not the very first thing that happens to her, but I really do hope that I found that very compelling, this exploration of someone who built their personality, their identity around having these powers, and then she's like, I can't relate to the other Avengers. I'm not an Avenger anymore because I don't have powers. Everybody else has something they can do, and she goes like drinking with Wolverine, who has this snide little it's an inner monologue, so he doesn't say it to a character, but he's like, I can't believe that, other people actually drink because, my self-healing means that I don't get drunk. I can't, the effects of alcohol do not affect. Is the Captain America scene, the first movie, a response to that or something? I don't know, but it was just, like, I'm not an alcoholic, but it's just, it's not like drinking is some, like, horrible thing, but anyway, yeah, I really appreciated that in her character, and yeah, I hope they do that, and I'm sure that Brie Larson can pull that off. I believe this is the first movie I see her in, but I'm very impressed. Now, let's see, yes, this movie came to theater, the 6th, 1 second, this movie premiered, today, 6th of March. Shazam will premiere the 4th of April, and Avengers Endgame premiere the 24th of April. That's probably going to hurt Shazam. Literally everyone who cares about comics is going to watch Avengers Endgame. And we all know that, there are going to be scenes in Captain Marvel that set up Avengers Endgame. There are a lot of people who are going to watch those two movies but not Shazam because it's just too big movies in too short a space of time. Personally, I am going to all three, but, I don't watch that many other movies in theaters. If I was still, like, watching dramas and horror movies and non-comic book action movies, I'd probably think you'd have to fight pretty hard to get me to not go to see a comic book adaptation movie. I mean, I knew that Green Lantern was going to be garbage, but I still went and watched it. I wasn't like, if you're so smart, no. Now, if this movie was set in 97, not 95, maybe this one would be the one with the trailer that uses My Name Is. Now, I mean, it does make more sense for Shazam because he says his name, anyway. And I noted that some people said the cat steals the show and Fury loves the cat. And let's see. IMDb and Wikipedia sites. Now, when I last checked, this was what the critics' consensus said. Packed with action, humor, and visual thrills, Captain Marvel introduces the MCU's latest hero with an origin story that makes effective use of the franchise signature formula. And that is an 84% on the tomato meter. And I believe it is certified fresh. And 136 reviews counted, with 114 fresh ones. Now, yeah, when I noted this, the audience score and user ratings were not yet available, and that's, I still barely understand why they even do a want to see. I get why user ratings for people who have watched the movie, but why want to see? And then you see a ton of people who don't even give a reason why they do or don't want to see. They just type in something random. I don't write reviews on or vote or anything on Rotten Tomatoes, but like, do they give prizes for people who put in a certain amount of ratings or reviews? Because some people really don't seem to have anything, they don't really want to write anything, they just want to make sure they voted or something. Yeah. But the average rating is 7 out of 10, and let's see. Right, so moving on to Rotten Tomato Pro reviews. Excuse me. Now, again, I am not going to go into every single one. You can read them for yourself. They're online. But the ones that I want to comment on Yes. Now, this, yeah, I'm here for higher, further, faster, but maybe not so fast. Marvel seems to service the upcoming Avengers Endgame more than it does the character herself. I can somewhat see what they mean, but yeah. And I do think that, yeah, you gotta be careful with something like that, but let's see. Yeah. Right, this one is, we are still at the point where the visuals of such a powerful female hero are rare enough that its sheer existence makes you giddy. And yeah, I would have to agree, and I would like to think that this movie was still, I mean, again, against something like Wonder Woman, the solo movie, it's not as strong, but I would like to think that even if there were a lot of other movies with female leads, even if a lot of them were very good, this is still something that you would remember. This wouldn't just be one of the, like, when you look at superhero movies in general, if you just look at, oh, this guy has, some kind of problem to overcome, but he has a lot of powers or gadgets, and because of that he overcomes them. There are so many that you can be like, I don't really like this, and this of them, but yeah. Captain Marvel is given as an engaging female character that does not come off as an empty agenda. And yeah. Now this one guy says, I'm sorry, I'm not entirely sure, is that, I saw the picture but I forget if this is a man or a woman, but it says Captain Marvel effectively makes feminism a target, a goal to be achieved in ways that feel more self-congratulatory than progressive. I really didn't think, that wasn't the sense I got. I don't want to be the guy who said, I just feel like a lot of times when you hear right-wingers criticize social justice warriors and people who are very passionate about these left issues, like, what they come up with is, oh, you're just virtue signaling. Oh, there's always these new issues. And it's just like, just because you don't have empathy doesn't mean that other people don't either. You're not really saying, you're not making an argument why this cause shouldn't be supported. You're just making an argument that, actually not making an argument, you're just proving that you are a terrible human being and you feel slighted by the fact that not everybody is. You feel like other people thinking, I recently saw, it's not a new tweet, but I think I only recently saw it, but there was someone pointing out, whenever you have these big, like, scandals in Hollywood, especially these, the Me Too era, a lot of, so many, like, I think it was, like, Quentin Tarantino saying, oh, I've been a friend with Harvey Weinstein for like 24 years, and, this, I don't know how to feel about it, something like that, and, one person tweeted, isn't it interesting how it's always about the person's feelings instead of the actual issue? And it seems to me like too many people are just like, how dare you say that? Instead of like, oh right, this is like it's not as though, there are things where it's like, okay, that's going too far, that's not, or that person doesn't need that kind of help, but those tend to not be left-wing issues, those tend to be right-wing issues. The fact that there are right-wingers who are scared of everyone who isn't American white and a right-winger, that really is not it's not the responsibility of other people to calm them down. It's their responsibility to not get so worked up about non-issues. I'm not saying they're not dangerous. Obviously, a lot of them are. Hence the recent attacks on left-wingers and the press and such. And I do mean the literal, the mail bombs and such. I'm just saying that it's really not something there's no reason to feel sorry for people who use I sounded Canadian there, sorry. For just if you are willing to to use force against someone who asks questions of people that you adore, or who argues against people that you adore, no, you don't deserve empathy. It's just, you might need to be, put away somewhere. But anyway, let's see. Yeah, and this review says, lovers of fun, everywhere you'll want to be different. Said several others, but just if you like having fun, the movie, yeah. Now, let's see. Yeah, this one phrase says, there are no lump in your throat moments in Captain Marvel. And again, I don't really agree with that. I guess I could say that they're not the most powerful of the entire MCU, but it's really not. No, it's anyway. I also wanted to, I know some people did not like that after Avengers 2 and 3, immediately we get this really light Ant-Man movie that doesn't really have anything to do with the other movies, and that doesn't really have stakes and such. And I really appreciate that this movie has stakes, and it really pays off on stuff, and will be paid off on. As these others, it really makes me look forward to the next one. I cannot wait for Endgame to come out. Now, let's see. Excuse me. Now, let's see. Excuse me. I guess that might be about what I have to comment on here. Let's see. I did mention there were over 100 reviews, right? I guess okay, there can't possibly be very many left. Excuse me, I'm just gonna Right. IMDb trivia. Let's see. This film is set in the 1990s and serves as a prequel tale for established Marvel Cinematic Universe characters Nick Fury, Phil Coulson, Kraft the Pursuer, and Ronan the Accuser. And again, those last two I really didn't feel like there was anything. Yeah. And Stan Lee's cameo appearance was filmed prior to his death in 2018. And yeah, this is the first time Marvel has done de-aging for characters for an entire movie, and mentions the brief times it's been used. I hope it looks convincing enough. The other films have been very close, and this is the first time Phil Coulson is one of those movies since his death in the first Avengers movie, and it's the first time S.H.I.E.L.D. is, in one of these since it was dissolved at the end of Captain America 2. I suppose you could say that it's briefly in Avengers Ultron, since Hydra is. Anyway. Right. So, I already talked about how the de-aging on Coulson some of the time it's just not quite. Let's see. Excuse me. Now, apparently Emily Blunt and others were rumored for the title role. I'm still, I forget who suggested this fan casting, but I would like to see Emily Blunt as Miss Fantastic. I'm sorry, I'm terrible with it. Miss or Mrs. I guess Mrs., because she's married. Sue Storm. Sorry. The Invisible Woman. I'm sorry. My brain is frazzled recently. Anyway, I think she can do the badass stuff based on End of Tomorrow, I want to say it's called, and she can do romantic, sweet, cutesy stuff based on Adjustment Bureau. Now. Nicole Perman previously wrote the first draft of Guardians of the Galaxy, so she returns to some characters she wrote for in that. And yeah, I wish that it was, that the stuff with those characters was more memorable. I like I've seen people call this an origin story. I mean, I guess an origin story for her as a hero for Earth, but she does have her powers from the start. An origin story for her leaving Kree. Anyway. Let's see. I guess I'm just gonna go ahead and skip. And Wikipedia. And this, I'm again gonna real close. Oh, hold on. Right, let's see. Yeah, in 2013, executive producer Luis Desposito said the studio was interested in a female-driven superhero film that had plenty of strong female characters from its juice, suggesting Captain Marvel, Black Widow, Pepper Potts, or Peggy Carter as possible candidates. I could see how they might go with Pepper, since when Stark's is blown up in Iron Man 3, Pepper is the one who prevents Miss Hansen from being turned into Maya paste. But I think people would be frustrated with a movie that did not have Iron Man in it and did have Pepper Potts. So let's see. And Black Widow is not as inspiring or inspirational for, yeah, let's see. I guess, why did I put that there? And there. Okay, so I do hope that the people who just dislike Brie Larson don't lead to a big, like, negative response. I think the people who watch this, who don't go into it expecting to hate aspects of it, I'm not saying that everyone will love it, but I mean, it's a crowd-pleasing movie. It's a movie that you can sit. It's not like it's this deeply flawed kind of movie. Yeah, it's just, you know, there are people who don't like her. There are people who, you know, you have all these people who review bombed, and then when Rotten Tomatoes took away the feature because of this abuse of the feature, you have people saying, you know, oh, it's a conspiracy. So yeah. Anyway, now let's see. Yeah, and you know, this was the first time a woman scored an MCU film, so another great, yeah. And let's see. Yeah, like the second trailer, I want to say, is, you know, did receive some criticism, including that the plot presented was unclear, confusion. Oh, sorry, the first trailer. Confusion as to why Carol punches an elderly woman, and objections to Carol not smiling much. Really? You don't think women are already too often being told you should smile more? Just, wow. And then, yeah, someone said, you know, oh, the second trailer went out of the way to clarify the elderly lady Carolyn punches was a Skrull. Carol, not Carolyn, was a Skrull, and made sure to linger long enough on a certain line to show Larson's smile. And yeah, I do think, yeah, I really don't think that was necessary. Yeah. Let's see. And yeah, you know, there's the hashtag Captain Marvel challenge, inspired by the hashtag Black Panther challenge. And let's see. Yeah, and let me just real brief go into rewatched for research. Now, I'm rewatching every MCU movie to, you know, I should be able to watch all of them before Endgame comes out. And give me a second. Let's see, what was the most recent? I rewatched all of Phase 1. I guess Iron Man 3 is the only Phase 2 one I have watched by this point. But yeah, you know, that is everything. I didn't really have anything specific. I made some notes on some of them, but I'm saving those for the Endgame one. But yeah, This was comparatively a very short video for one of these, but yeah, I mean, let me just see if I can do a quick little like wrap up. Yeah, the you know, it is not Wonder Woman, and honestly, I really don't think it was even trying to be. It could have been closer to Wonder Woman. You know, let's say that there was a maybe the team that Carol was on, the Kree, you know, maybe it had another woman and she was trying to get past Jude Law's control. So you had another ambitious young woman, you know, the Skrulls, the lead Skrull could have been a woman, and again, you know, ambitious and getting, you know, accomplishing things. Yeah, it just, there were definitely things where it could have been more. I don't think that they meant it to be more. I mean, at the end of the day, the MCU does play it fairly safe, and that is something the DCU often takes big chances, and when you take, you know, when you take big risks, sometimes they really pay off. So Wonder Woman, the solo movie, is, you know, hugely feminist, and this one, yeah, is not. But I do think that this is overall the better movie, which has nothing to do with the feminism of it. Nothing bad in Wonder Woman's solo movie is because of the feminism. It's other things that. Yeah, I'm gonna just really briefly. I saw like a, I want to call it Reddit. I want to say it's a Reddit AMA with like Patty Jenkins, right? And she said that she always wanted to do a comedy. And the moment I read that, I was like, that actually explains, because I'm sorry, that is something that I hope that she does get to do, like outright comedy, but you know, for one thing, I think there's too much comic relief in the Wonder Woman solo movie, and a little too much of it just doesn't quite land. And it, yeah, the fact that it's one of the first times she's been able to direct comedy. Comedy is incredibly difficult to direct, and if it doesn't get directed well, it's almost impossible to edit well. You know, if you direct horror and you only direct it so, a good editor can save a lot. You know, a lot of about horror is how it's edited. The sound work on it, the shot length, you know, these are things, but comedy, if it doesn't land, you really can't do much. And a lot of the comedy in the solo movie is this kind of, you know, the funny lines and such. You know, there is some physical comedy as well, but, you know, meanwhile, the moment that you have Wonder Woman, I'm not going to spoil Wonder Woman, the moment that you have Wonder Woman looking, you know, seeing something wrong with the world and working to fix that, that's amazing. That's, you know, I'm not saying that you could, you know, you needed something. Didn't have to be comedy, but you did need something. It can't be non-stop just her finding things wrong and doing, you know, then it would feel preachy and excessive, which I really don't think it does. But yeah, the comedy, and it's too bad because the chemistry is there, and there is some very funny comedy. They just they should maybe have done takes that weren't comedic and edited the movie from like maybe a third of the stuff should be funny and the other 2/3. I'm not saying it has to be super dramatic, but just don't push so hard for the comedy, because just, yeah, it doesn't all work. And yeah, the drama largely works. That explains a lot. And it's one of those things, I'm sorry, but you know, it's a good practice to try to get, you know, if there's something you don't know, you're not that adept at yet, you know, try to do like short films or commercials, or, you know, where you can get practice on that kind of thing. Because that really is, you know, comedy that isn't amazing. I'm not saying that the comedy is painful in the movie, but there's too much of it. There's too much of it in small, like really concentrated chunks of the movie, and just too much of it just isn't that funny. Yeah, just, let's see. And, you know, comparatively, I don't think there's a single, not a single, but there's almost no unfunny comedy in this movie. And certainly there's a ton of incredibly funny, incredible, memorable jokes in this. But I guess that covers it. So, yeah. You know, please don't, if you watch this far into the video and you haven't watched the movie yet, please do not listen to the people who say, you know, the people who literally say boycott this movie. Please grow up. Name me one thing that anyone involved with this movie have done that is bad enough to boycott. Like, boycotting a movie, you know what? If you boycott Roman Polanski, that makes sense. You know, if you boycott, yeah, you know, boycotting Weinstein films makes sense, especially if you can, like, point to, I think I also saw something about, you know, oh, the, you know, Disney or Marvel is like refusing, you know, they're saying we won't give refunds. If you watch the entire movie and then you're like, I want a refund, like, if the theater catches fire, you deserve a refund. I think so. That's a bad enough experience. I mean, it wouldn't necessarily be their fault that it caught fire, but I could understand why you'd be upset, and, you know, but other than that, just, yeah, or like an usher, you know, shanked you with a shiv, or I forget, yeah. Then, but other than that, just, no, it's just ridiculous. And it really, like, I briefly scrolled through the videos. I just did a YouTube search for Captain Marvel, and I scrolled through. So many of them were just these ridiculously hateful things, and it's just, do you really have nothing better to do? You really think there aren't more important things in the world, including within movies, to deal with? You know, I'm not gonna try to, you know, Feminist Frequency did it perfect talking about the Oscars. You know, there's some stuff to, you know, yeah, just, anyway. I hope you enjoyed watching, as I enjoyed watching and recording, and I'll catch you.